In today's video, I attempt to beat Pokémon FireRed in a Hardcore Nuzlocke. For those that don't know, Nuzlockes make Pokémon games much harder, and Hardcore Nuzlockes make them, well, hardcore. The rules are as follows. Every Pokémon that faints is released. I can only catch the first Pokémon in each area, no duplicates though, and I must nickname every Pokémon that I get. The hardcore rules are that I can't use any items except held items in battle, I play on set mode, and I cannot level past the next gym leader's highest level Pokémon before battling them. I've been playing Pokémon ever since I was a kid, but I never got competitive nor understood much about the actual mechanics of the game. This year is where all that changes. Join me on this channel for a Pokémon adventure where I will one day become a Pokémon Master. I name myself Nuz and my rival Oak. That's right, I remember now. His name was Oak. Before leaving home, our mom doesn't forget to mention that all boys leave home someday, and that it said so on TV. I'm sure glad the TV didn't say something different, otherwise who knows if our adventure would ever begin. After finally leaving our house, I look for Professor Oak but find him nowhere. Well, I checked the whole town and have nowhere else to go. Hey, don't go out. What? After Professor Oak leads us to his lab, we roll a die to see who our starter will be. It lands on 3, so we pick Charmander, everyone's favorite Pokemon, but the worst starter of the 3 for this challenge. Why? Because the first 3 gyms are super effective against fire types, and because the early game tends to be the hardest to deal with. Anyway, we name him Steak, since his flames can make a barbecue and people eat steak at barbecues, and then we battle our rival, Oak. Before starting the battle though, we check up on Steak's nature, which happens to be the neutral bashful. Not bad. We start the battle with a growl and then scratch to death, since scratch on its own doesn't do enough damage, and we get the win. After that we find a rat and name her Cheese, since rats eat mice and mice eat cheese, and then run into a Pidgey encounter on Route 2. This Pidgey gets in range to kill me, dealing 8 damage with a crit, but I keep on throwing balls. We're gonna catch her no matter what. Oh my god. That was the riskiest play I've done in a Nuzlocke, but let me explain why I wanted Pidgey so badly. In typical hardcore Nuzlockes, there's a dupes clause, which makes it so that any encountered Pokemon you already caught can't be caught again, allowing you to go for the next encountered Pokemon in the area. But in my Nuzlockes, I make it a bit more difficult, making it so that the first encounter in any area is the only chance I have to catch a Pokemon in that area. So if I didn't catch Pidgey, I would have no other chance to catch a Pidgey, and I would have no encounter on Route 2. Oh, we name her Leaf by the way, since birds eat worms and worms eat leaves. In Viridian Forest, there's a 5% chance of encountering a Pikachu, but we wouldn't get that luck.
Oh my god. Really?
Oh. Scared that a crit would kill after 2 scratches, since crits ignore stat changes, we lob our Pokeballs and get the catch. Since Pikachu has been confirmed to be a squirrel, we name her Nuts, and start training against a bunch of rats and Pidgey before versing the first gym. Since we don't have Bulbasaur or Squirtle, this battle was going to be tough. We start by sand attacking Geodude as he defense curls. We sand attack 5 more times to maximize the chance that he would miss as we tank 1 or 2 tackles, and Geodude just keeps upping his defense. With such a high defense, we change to Nuts for some tail whips, but change to Steak after since Geodude just keeps using defense curl. After growling a bit with Steak, we go for Metal Claw, which somehow ups our attack 3 times in a row, a 0.1% chance to happen, getting us the kill. Next up is Brock's ace, Onix. But since I had a boosted Steak, I decided to take the risk and Metal Claw for some heavy damage, but I miss. Luckily, Onix doesn't crit, but after tanking a Rock Tomb and Tackle with Leaf while trying to go for a sand attack, she dies. At this point, I thought the battle was over, but Nuts gets in a Tail Whip and paralyzes the opponent with static before taking heavy damage, letting us switch into Cheese for some Hyper Fang action. All we could do now was spam and hope for the best. On the switch, Onix misses Rock Tomb and gives us a chance. We then flinch Onix with a Hyper Fang, doing little to no damage but protecting us a bit longer. Onix finally connects with Rock Tomb though, and it's looking bad. Thankfully though, Nuts static makes Onix paralyzed for 2 turns in a row, and after making him flinch yet again, we almost get the win. Onix connects again with Rock Tomb, but thankfully it's not a crit, and somehow we get the victory. That was the most intense and difficult fight I've had in a Nuzlocke so far. But you know what? At least Leaf's death was not in vain. After running into a peculiar kid, I always wear shorts, even in winter. That's my policy. Okay. We make our way towards Mount Moon and find some new Pokemon. We have a 10% chance for a Mankey here, which would be helpful early on because, well, you know what? Leaf 2 doesn't seem too bad. Near Mount Moon, we receive one of the best Pokemon for a Nuzlocke, Magikarp. In my previous video, I didn't use Gyarados since he's too OP and we already had Swampert on the team, but in this challenge, we're struggling. So welcome to the team, Corn. We name him Corn because corn is used as bait to catch carp, by the way. We then enter Mount Moon and rappel our way over to the basement, since there is a 100% encounter rate of Paris there. Many people say Paris sucks, especially in Nuzlockes.
Parasect is one of the worst Pokemon to come out of the Kanto region. Using it in a Nuzlocke challenge would be the worst decision a trainer could ever make.
How good is the Paris line in a Nuzlocke? Pretty awful, honestly. To be fair, Parasect does have a pretty bad moveset and too many weaknesses. But I say it has pretty decent stats and Spore can be useful, so I'm going to prove them wrong. After Mount Moon, we train for the second gym and for the rival battle. But Leaf 2 dies. I'm not gonna lie, that hurt. Against our rival Oak, Guts on his Rat is a bit scary, as well as Squirtle's Torrent, so I made a mental note to use Pikachu wisely, and we get the win. In fact, I was really excited to use Pikachu in general, especially for Misty, but her stats were just trash. Not only that, but Thundershock was just not good enough, so we head on over to Route 24 to find an Oddish for Misty. After beating all the trainers on Nugget Bridge, we encounter the weed Pokemon on Route 24. And think of a name, Radish, since Odd Radish, Oddish, or Mandrake. Yeah, this is an easy decision. Oh, and then I do this accidentally? I've been playing Pokemon since I was a kid, but I never knew you could do that. Let me know in the comments if you knew about that. Thankfully, Mandrake will come in handy, since it evolves at level 21, the level cap for the second gym. Cheese also evolves, and we decide to pay Bill a visit, but leave him as a Pokemon because who cares? I wish my boyfriend was as good as you. 10-year-old Red is definitely blushing right about now. After all that, we almost lose Corn because grinding with a Magikarp and no XP share is very annoying. And after some day caring, we have a team ready for the second gym. The fight against Misty starts with Mandrake missing a sleep powder as Staryu hardens. A tanked Water Pulse later and Staryu falls asleep. This lets us get 2 absorbs in and face her ace, Starmie, at full health. We go for Sleep Powder, which hits this time after tanking Swift. A bunch more absorbs and Swifts later, and we get the second gym badge. What a contrast to the first. On Route 5 we catch Meat, which will come in handy later. Cats eat meat, by the way. And then Root in Diglett Cave for the third gym. Before that though, we have to verse our rival on the SS Anne, and this rival battle has killed many a run in the past. We train Mushroom up to the level cap of 24 so that he can evolve and help out in the battle. Nuts takes out Pidgeotto after a couple of Thundershocks, and Cheese kills her brother because she hates him. Mushroom then tanks a Confusion and Disable before hitting Kadabra with Leech Life, which kills Kadabra immediately. Mushroom then hits Oak's Ace with a Stun Spore, and Mandrake cleans up with some Absorbs. You see, Parasect isn't that bad.
Rub rub. Rub rub.
After rubbing the captain, we teach Cut to Root and get Acid on Mandrake, ready for the third gym. Root handles the first Pokemon with Dig, and luckily hits a double-teamed Pikachu for the kill. She gets paralyzed, but pushes through with 2 magnitudes in a row and gets the win. Our plan was to use Mandrake and Cheese with Sleep Powder and Hyper Fang, but Root just carried, and luck was on our side. After that battle, we teach Water Pulse to Corn and catch Bird, since apparently snakes eat birds. We also catch Geodude, who we name Rock, since to be honest, I don't know what Geodude would eat. And we head to Route 7 and 8 to try to catch a Growlithe. There's a 10% chance for a Growlithe, a 20% chance on Route 8 for a Growlithe. Okay, so we don't catch Growlithe, but we do head over to Celadon City and get a Thunderstone for Pikachu that we'll give her after she gets to level 26 and learns Thunderbolt. We also get Rabbit. Rabbit because foxes eat rabbits. That will be backup in case Nuts, Steak, or Corn dies. Foreshadow. After receiving a coin case from a gambling man who gambled too much,
No more slots for me. I'm going straight.
I decide to gamble myself. Not because I want to, but because I need to. In FireRed, held items like Mystic Water and Charcoal, as well as TMs like Thunderbolt and Flamethrower, are very rare, and mostly just available in the game corner. I spent an hour and a half gambling for Flamethrower, since Charmeleon doesn't learn it until level 34, which is way above the level cap, and I swear, I feel like I lost way too many brain cells doing it. Finally having Flamethrower on stake, we battle some wild Pokemon to get our HP low enough in order for Blaze to trigger. That way we can have an easy time against the 4th gym. Just as expected, Victory Bell goes down easily to a Blazed Flamethrower, and Stake levels up to level 30, which is allowed according to my Nuzlocke rules, and makes him fast enough to deal with the rest of Erika's Pokemon quickly. But I forgot to make a calculation. You see, Blaze is an ability that makes Fire-type moves 1.5 times more effective when the user has a third or less of its HP. So although Stake was in range for Blaze at level 29, at level 30 he was not. In fact, I was 1 HP above the required HP for Blaze to trigger, and without Blaze, Flamethrower wasn't guaranteed to kill her ace. I changed to Mushroom to see if he can help, but he just goes to sleep. Cheese tanks too much damage, and Corn can't help out since he tanks Giga Drains. After almost losing Nuts, I take Root out and go for a dig. Vileplume Giga Drains and takes Root out, but doesn't gain all of its HP back, letting Stake Flamethrower for the win. One small mistake and another Pokemon is dead. I'm sorry, Root. At this point we lost 3 Pokemon and had much more to go through. This would be hard.
Self-scope? Oh, that machine the boss stole? It's here somewhere.
Wait a minute, I thought Red couldn't talk. How did the grunt know I was talking about the self-scope? Oh. After that, I verse a grunt who has a coughing that uses self-destruct. I really should pay more attention. With my guard up, I verse Giovanni. Corn water pulses his Onix and Rhyhorn as one of Giovanni's powerhouses, Kangaskhan, comes out. I intimidate switch and get a Thunder Wave in until Kangaskhan has -4 attack, and then I use Cheese's powerful Hyper Fang to chip away at her. Only tanking 1 Mega Punch at -4 attack, Cheese is able to safely take Kangaskhan out and win the battle.
I'll share this tea with the other guards.
How much tea did I buy? After some training, we evolved
Nuts
in order to take out Oak's Pidgeotto and head to Pokemon Tower. With a lackluster moveset, the rest of his team goes down pretty easily, and we make our way to the top of the tower where we get the Pokeflute to awaken Snorlax. We then head over to Silph Co, where Team Rocket is up to no good, and have Charmeleon evolve from all the fighting. Before battling our rival and Giovanni yet again, we decide to catch Snorlax and level up our team. Snorlax was a bit annoying to catch, but after some trouble, we catch him.
It is not satisfied unless it eats over 880 pounds of food every day.
His name is Food.
Nuts
Dies to a random Voltorb while training, and so we replace her and Mandrake for Jolteon and Snorlax respectively. 20 minutes of gambling later, and we teach Thunderbolt to Rabbit, who must survive in order to carry on Nuts' legacy. With Rabbit and Food on our team, this fight is going to be much easier. Rabbit takes Pidgeot out after a Thunderbolt Quick Attack combo, and we switch into Corn who takes Growlithe out after 2 Water Pulses. Execute goes down to a Flamethrower from Stake, and we decide to switch to Rabbit since he can tank some moves while Thunderbolting Blastoise to death, which he does. Alakazam was a bit scary, but without Psychic wasn't much of a threat, and goes down to 2 Headbutts from Food. Now, before Giovanni, I had to train the team even more. His Kangaskhan was quite a threat before, and coupled with the Nidoqueen, we would need to have a plan for this fight. Not only that, but Rhyhorn has Rock Blast, a move that can decimate Corn, Stake, and Mushroom. Some may say that taking Mushroom out for another Pokemon would be the choice here, since half the team dies to one type, but not me. I will prove to the world that Parasect is actually viable in Nuzlocke. Anyway, I teach Brick Break to Food to handle Rhyhorn and train everyone to at least level 38, which I felt would be good enough for this battle. We start the battle with 2 Body Slams which takes out Nidorino without tanking much damage. Nidoqueen then comes out, so I decide to Intimidate switch with Corn, getting poisoned from Poison Sting, but bringing her attack down to -2. Since Corn's HP was getting low, I stay in with Food who tanks a Body Slam before hitting back with a Yawn. Another Body Slam from Nidoqueen leaves us paralyzed, but we thankfully get our own Body Slam in before Nidoqueen falls asleep. After a turn of paralysis, we use Rest and wake ourselves up with a held Chesto Berry. thankfully with Nidoqueen asleep the whole time. A Body Slam takes it down to red, and a final one takes her out. Next is Kangaskhan, Giovanni's other hard-hitting Pokemon. We think for a bit and hit with Yawn, tanking Rage. I thought he'd go for a Mega Punch, which could kill in 2 turns with 2 crits, but thankfully he didn't, as another Rage hits for some damage and we Body Slam the sleeping giant to death. Rhyhorn then goes down to a few Brick Breaks, and we are ready for the 5th gym. We start the battle against Koga with a flamethrower that takes Coughing out before self-destruct could become an issue. Muck though was another story. I know that Muck tends to use Minimize a lot and then sweep with Sludge, so I decide to Smoke Screen and change into Corn for the Intimidate. Food then comes in with the Yawn as Muck keeps minimizing and acid armoring up. Body Slam from Food paralyzes though, so we switch to Corn for another Intimidate and use Dragon Rage, missing almost none of them and forcing Koga to Hyper Potion twice. After the second Hyper Potion though, I change to Stake for a heavy hitting Flamethrower but miss and get poisoned from Sludge. Next up was Corn again for the 3rd Intimidate, and I switch back and forth for the 4th, so I can more safely take Muck on with Mushroom, whose Aerial Ace never misses. Mushroom tanks Sludges left and right and gets poisoned, but his Aerial Ace doesn't do much because of Acid Armor, which increased Mux's defense a bunch. So I change to Corn for yet another Intimidate before using Food to slowly chip away at his health. Many turns pass and we finally get the kill, and even get to heal up with Rest. Next up was Coughing, and although he had self-destruct, I knew that Food would be able to survive. So I Yawn in order for Coughing to be asleep for the 2-hit KO, but Koga wakes him up and a self-destruct takes Food down to yellow health. Koga's final Pokemon, and his ace, was up next, but most of our team was injured, so I switch out to Corn for an Intimidate before getting Rabbit out there to Thunderbolt for around half damage. Weezing then uses Smoke Screen, but luckily we pull through and get the win with a final Thunderbolt. I went to Koga first because I thought he'd be easier than Sabrina's Alakazam, but I'm not so sure now. After that intense battle, we catch Dodo in the Safari Zone, which I name D, I got lazy, okay, and pick up a Surf and Quick Claw, teaching Surf to Corn and giving Quick Claw to Snorlax. After some training, we take on Sabrina and finally have an easy time with the gym leader again, with Food Body Slamming everyone to death. Having her Pokemon use Calm Mind was scary, but perfect for Snorlax's slow speed, since he didn't have to tank many attacks before hitting with Body Slam. In the Pokemon Mansion, we catch a Grimer I name Boo, I just had to, and go on to verse the hardest gym leader in Kanto, Blaine. We set up a rain dance, and then, well, take out Blaine. A lot of thinking went into that strat. This Giovanni fight would be the hardest one so far. After beating Giovanni, he tells me that he's disbanding Team Rocket and leaves. But I don't think his members got the memo.
You can go on to the Pokemon League only by defeating our gym leader.
The Pokemon League? You? Don't get cocky.
Before heading on to the Elite Four, we look at our options. To be honest, we caught some cool and decent Pokemon to use, but I decide to keep the team the way it is since they've been with us for so long. Charizard is our starter, Raticate is our day one rat, Jolteon carries on Raichu's will, and Snorlax is just a beast. As for Gyarados, I trained him up from the little fish he was, and Mushroom from the little crab he was, that almost everyone neglects. Anyway, we train our team up to level 57 to prep for one of the last battles against our rival, and we find a cool Tentacool we catch and name Tentacle in honor of our previous Nuzlocke. With our over-leveled Pokemon, we make quick work of his, using super effective stab moves to take out most of his team.
Nuz, you need more practice.
No. I just grinded for 2 hours. I don't need any more practice. After catching our last encounter, an Onix with a Master Ball, we find Dragon Claw and train our Pokemon for the final challenge. Mushroom learns Aromatherapy, which will come in handy for the league, and we head on over to the game corner for the final time. I spent so much time grinding and gambling in this Nuzlocke challenge, but it wasn't over yet. The game corner has Shadow Ball, Ice Beam, Charcoal, and Mystic Water. All items we will need in the final battle. In total, 10,500 coins worth of stuff. Let's get to it. Whew. That only took around an hour this time. Quick tip for this game's casino. The best slots machine to use is this one. Anyway, after getting the items we needed, I realized that the Snorlax sleeping strat I used in previous battles would be very helpful here too, which meant that I needed to get 5 Chesto berries for Snorlax. Not only that, but Aspear berries heal frozen Pokemon, and Jolteon would need that to sweep through most of the first Elite Four members' Pokemon. In Pokemon Emerald, you can plant berries and have easier access to berries in general, but in this game, there weren't many options. Luckily though, we did have Meat sitting in the PC, and his pickup ability, the only one in the game mind you, picks up items, mostly berries, after winning a battle. So after another 20 to 30 minutes of grinding, we had the berries needed for the Pokemon League. It's time for the Elite Four. Rabbit takes out Dugong, Cloyster, and Slowbro in one hit before Lorelei's ace, Lapras, comes out. I decide to Thunderbolt anyway, hitting for some heavy damage, but getting confused in the process. After Lapras' Citrus Berry is consumed, I switch between Corn and Rabbit to get rid of the confusion and then finally take Lapras out with a Thunderbolt. Last was Jinx, which I change into Food to handle. She hits us with a Lovely Kiss, which our Chesto Berry counters, but another Lovely Kiss leaves us sleeping for a turn, allowing Jinx to use her seduction skills on Food. Thankfully, all Food cares about is food, so he wakes up and Body Slam crits Jinx to extinction. Bruno would be one of the harder challenges. His Onyxes are easy prey for Corn, but the rest of his team were heavy-hitting fighting types that are not so easy to handle. I planned a lot for this battle, and no matter what I planned, a death was a large possibility. We start the battle with Corn easily taking out Bruno's Onyx with a Surf, which does 4 times damage to ground rock types. Next was Hitmonchan, one of the scariest Pokemon to go up against. He has Sky Uppercut for strong fighting stab damage, Counter which makes it risky to use physical type moves, and Rock Tomb which places half my team in a challenging position. Nevertheless, I had a genius plan. Since I figured he'd use super effective Rock Tomb on Corn, I changed out to Cheese. I then changed back to Corn to bait a Sky Uppercut, which would kill our little rat, but doesn't do much on Corn. By switching back and forth, we were able to minimize the damage done by Hitmonchan's attacks while intimidating him, so his attacks would hit less hard. And after 3 intimidates, Hitmonchan decides to go for a Rock Tomb against Corn and misses. I take this opportunity to hit him with a Surf, and tanking a much weaker Rock Tomb than what would be if not for Gyarados' ability. I then change back to Cheese to bait a Sky Uppercut so I could change into Stake safely, but I guess because both moves were in range to kill Cheese, he goes for a Rock Tomb anyway, but it doesn't do much damage. Now, since Gyarados did some chip damage with Surf, a Wing Attack is guaranteed to kill, and one of the toughest opponents is down. But this fight was not even close to over yet. After taking Hitmonchan down, Bruno takes out his ace, Machamp. I changed to Food in order to bait a Rock Tomb, but luckily he misses, as I changed to Corn for the Intimidate. One thing I forgot about Machamp, however, was that he has Bulk Up, which increases his attack and defense. This wasn't good. After much thinking, I change into Mushroom to put him to sleep, and it works. I then go back to Corn for the Intimidate, but he just wakes up and uses Bulk Up again. After a few more times of using this strategy, I get annoyed and use Surf to see how much it'd do, but Machamp wakes up and uses Rock Tomb, thankfully not critting, and uses it again against Mushroom. After he misses a Cross Chop, I put him to sleep yet again and intimidate him a bit more, tanking some easy hits before changing into Rabbit and taking him out with Thunderbolts. That battle could have gotten a lot worse if he crit at any time, so I had to end it already. Next up was Onix, which was perfect since Jolteon baits the Earthquake and allows Corn to get the kill. And last up was Hitmonlee, a very strong physical attacker with not much defense. I bait a Mega Kick into a Brick Break for an Intimidate from Corn, and take out Mushroom for some Spore action yet again. One Aerial Ace is all it takes, and we take out the second Elite Four member without losing anyone, something Bruno doesn't take too lightly. I needed a super effective move to deal with Agatha, the third Elite Four member's Pokemon, especially Gengar. So I teach Shadow Ball to Snorlax and give him a Chesto Berry as usual. I decide to lead with Parasect though, so I can use Spore to more safely change into Snorlax, especially since her first Pokemon has Confuse Ray. As predicted, she uses Confuse Ray, but my Persim Berry gets us out of confusion and lets us use Spore to put her to sleep. Unfortunately, she does wake up, but uses Double Team as Food connects with a Shadow Ball that takes her out. Next up was Golbat, but I prepped with Persim Berries already, so I switch out to Rabbit, who snaps out of confusion before taking her out with Thunderbolt. Arbok was up next, so I switch into Food and tank 2 Sludge Bombs before taking it out with a crit Body Slam. Agatha doesn't play around though and takes out her ace Gengar, so I switch to Corn to Intimidate since Ghost type moves are physical in this gen and get hit by Hypnosis. Expecting Nightmare, a move that only hits sleeping Pokemon, I change to Rabbit and tank a surprising Sludge Bomb. After that, I change back to Corn and get hit by Hypnosis, which does nothing, and change to Stake who baits the Nightmare that can't happen. One Flamethrower later and Gengar is burned, and misses Hypnosis, which is great for us. Gengar's Citrus Berry heals her a bit, but it's not enough for the burn Flamethrower combo that takes her out for good. Last up is Hunter, who can be pretty annoying with Mean Look, but she goes down easily from a Flamethrower that was in range to kill most of the time. Next up was Lance, and I realized that he would be even more difficult than Bruno, since he has Hyper Beam on every single Pokemon he has. Due to this, I decide to use a few rare candies I've been saving up through the journey on Snorlax, so that he can, worst case scenario, tank Hyper Beams from Lance's ace, Dragonite. I also take this moment to teach Raticate Ice Beam, Gyarados Earthquake, and Charizard Dragon Claw. For those wondering why I didn't teach Snorlax Ice Beam, it's because his special attack wasn't good enough to make it worth replacing a move on him. For this battle, I wanted to do a Reflect Light Screen strat to handle Hyper Beams, but no one on the team can learn it, so I just went with the flow. First up was Gyarados, who went down to a single Thunderbolt from Rabbit. Next was Dragonair, so I switch into Corn to Intimidate and potentially tank a Hyper Beam, but he goes for Safeguard instead. I decide to take this chance to Dragon Dance, and Dragonair goes for 2 Dragon Rages in a row, allowing me to set up yet another Dragon Dance for an Earthquake sweep. All goes to plan and Dragonair goes down to a single Earthquake. But next up was Aerodactyl. I switch into Mushroom expecting an Ancient Power, but get hit by nothing as Scary Face misses. Next I switch to Rabbit to tank the not very effective Wing Attack and hit with Thunderbolt, taking him down to red HP. After a Scary Face and Full Restore puts Aerodactyl back in action, I go for another Thunderbolt and get hit very hard by a crit Ancient Power. Thankfully though, I calculated for it and knew Rabbit wouldn't die, so I safely take Aerodactyl out with a final Thunderbolt and move on to Lance's next Pokemon, Dragonair. I change to Corn for some Intimidate strats as he tanks an Outrage. Since I know Outrage will hit for only 1 or 2 more turns, I change into Food for some Body Slams, and thankfully, Outrage does only last 1 more turn, leaving Dragonair confused and using Safeguard. A crit hit from Body Slam takes him out, leaving Lance with his ace, and one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, Dragonite. I decide to go with Yawn, tanking a Wing Attack and forgetting that Dragonair used Safeguard on the previous turn. I then use Rest and heal up with my Chesto Berry, and then tank a crit Wing Attack before hitting back with a pretty strong Body Slam. Fearing another crit Wing Attack that would take Food out, I decide to change into Cheese, who tanks a pretty strong Wing Attack before healing up to above 50% with an Oran Berry. I use Ice Beam, but Dragonite doesn't go down, and retaliates with a missed Hyper Beam. At this point, I made a very dumb mistake. Lance full restores, and I know Cheese is not certain in 2-hit KOing Dragonite, but I go for Ice Beam anyway. I completely forgot about Super Fang, which halves your opponent's HP, which would have increased my chances of taking Dragonite out in 2 hits. I get punished, and a second Ice Beam leaves Dragonite with 1 HP, allowing him to hit and kill Cheese with a Hyper Beam. I'm sorry, Cheese. You didn't deserve to die. After some mourning, I change into Corn for a quick kill with Surf and prepare for the final battle. Lance calls me a Pokemon Master too, but that isn't true, Lance. Not yet, at least. I go into the fight with Rabbit, who 1-hit KOs Oak's Pidgeot before tanking any damage. Rhydon then comes out, so I bait his Earthquake with Corn and respond with a super effective Stab Surf, which takes him out. Next was Alakazam, one of the scarier Pokemon on Oak's team. After tanking 2 Psychics with Food though, he goes down to a single Shadow Ball. A Sleep Powder from Exeggutor puts Stake to sleep, but Mushroom comes in clutch and tanks an Egg Bomb before putting him to sleep. I take this chance to wake up Stake with Aromatherapy and switch in with a 1-hit KO Flamethrower. Next up was his ace Blastoise, who is sure to hit with Hydro Pump, so I change to Corn, who easily tanks it and retaliate with Earthquake. Blastoise then goes for Rain Dance as I hit with Earthquake again, and then I Dragon Dance for the faster kill after tanking some hits. All that was left was Arcanine, and we would be champions. At this moment, I thought we would win easily. I mean, we have a Dragon Danced Corn, and a bunch of other Pokemon on our side. But I made one crucial misstep. Extreme Speed. Arcanine goes for it and takes Corn out with a single critical hit, Steak then tanks in extreme speed as I smokescreen repeatedly for the easy kill. Unfortunately, Oak full restores, and Steak's wing attacks are not enough to take out Arcanine. After tanking extreme speed and a couple of bites, Blazed Steak makes me use Flamethrower, which does good damage, but Oak just keeps full restoring. Without a crit, Steak would go down, and go down he does. With so many full restores used, I figured he had none left, but just in case, I switch out to food and use the rest Chesto Berry strat for an even fight. Oak full restores and I go for Yawn as Arcanine misses Flamethrower, thanks to Steak. After a Body Slam paralyzes Arcanine, we are able to get the win with another Body Slam and become the champions of Kanto. This fight couldn't have been won without the sacrifices throughout. We will not forget you, Leaf, Leaf 1, Root,
Nuts.
Cheese, Corn, Steak. Thank you for your service. And thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you continue on this journey with me, where I try to become the next Pokemon Master.